Left-wing media is doing everything they can to talk Americans into a recession. With Donald Trump set to return in less than a week, legacy media is falling over itself to predict economic disaster. U.S. News asks, quote, will Trump's policy spark a recession? Newsweek adds, will there be a recession? The Boston Globe says, quote, Trump's plans promise another great recession. The signal went out from the mothership. Of course, they've been at this since Trump won. Just 4 days after the November election, the Associated Press ran an article called, quote, frustrated Americans await the economic changes they voted for with Trump. That was 4 days after the election, 2 months before he took office. What makes the whole exercise hilarious is that actual recession odds plunged as soon as Trump won. Betting site Kalshi's odds of a recession by the end of 2025 went from 53% the day before the election to just 24%. Now, given Trump was 50-50 before the election on the betting markets, that implies the odds of a recession if Kamala had won were something like 80%. But yeah, blame it on Trump. Now, 24% odds is still pretty bad. In recent videos, I've talked about the mess Biden is leaving Trump, the $2 trillion deficit, the nearly $7 trillion in spending, shrinking jobs for native-born Americans, wages that have spent years underwater, failing to keep up with inflation, and all of the debt buildup that entails. The challenge for Trump is getting his pro-growth policies, so the tax cuts, spending cuts, regulatory cuts, and drill, baby, drill, getting those in place fast enough to take the wind out of the sails of Biden's recession. This was always going to be tricky, especially the spending cuts, which reduce GDP in the short term, but grow the economy tenfold in the long run. Still, Trump has been here before. In 2016, when he was first elected, the economy was also circling the drain towards recession as the anemic Obama recovery from 2008 was running out of steam. Trump turned that into the greatest economy since Ronald Reagan. Of course, a lot has changed since 2016. We've nearly doubled the national debt, so it went from $20 trillion to $36 trillion in just 8 years. And we've tripled debt interest, which is now over $1 trillion a year in interest alone. Meanwhile, all that money drove a near doubling of the federal government, so there's a lot more mouths to feed. It went from $3.9 trillion in spending in 2016 to nearly $7 trillion today, as COVID spending soared, and like all crises, the spending stuck around long after the alleged crisis was over. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. The solution here is easy, at least on paper. So repeat Trump 1.0 on taxes. He's already floated cuts to small business tax, no tax on overtime, tips, Social Security. In fact, he's questioned the entire income tax. Number 2 is go even harder on regulations. So last time Trump canceled 8 regulations for every new one, but between DOGE and recent deregulatory Supreme Court decisions, he could 10x that this time. And 3, the big one, slash the federal government. So I'm old enough to remember 2016, and it didn't seem like a government at $3.9 trillion was any worse than today's at $7 trillion. We still had firemen, we had Social Security, we had national parks. Now Elon has floated $2 trillion in cuts. Maybe we should go ahead and make it 3. In the meantime, you can bet the media's favorite word in 2025 will be recession, as they desperately try to sabotage every Trump effort to fix the half-broken economy that Biden has given him. Read the rest of the article with charts at profsange.com. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.